What is up, guys? It is well-acclaimed YouTube gunsmith, Krusk. Today I'm going to be looking at a video from Gamology where a pair of gun experts react to Insurgency Sandstorm. These gun experts, they're not wrong. They have outdated information. And I wanted to talk about some of their information and how it's outdated and what's different. And I thought this would be not necessarily a great argument like the last video where I argued with Rational Preps, but more like a moment to educate people on advancements in firearms technology in the last 20 years and just generally what's available in the civilian firearms world, which I feel like is something that wasn't properly represented in the video, and I just wanted to put out some educational content on for you, the viewers' advantage. So, with that being said, now comes the legally obligated part. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and ring that bell. Thank you. Let's actually get into it.
Hey everybody, I'm Israel Wright. I'm a former Green Beret stationed out of Fort Lewis, Washington, and I was deployed to Iraq in 2008. My very special guest here is Captain Lars Whalen. Ship's captain, specializes in high-risk sub-sea construction. Did I get that right? Okay,
That's
good.
right. Yep.
And he's worked with Special Forces units from all over the world for over 20 years, and we're really happy to have him here.
So I don't want to open by saying, anyone didn't do anything or wasn't anywhere. I'm not denying these guys' experience in the military or military-related situations. I'm just saying that a Green Beret is not necessarily a firearms expert. A Green Beret is an expert in a lot of things that I have no idea about. Navigation, land travel, small unit tactics, large unit tactics, how to train others in firearms, a lot of things. But because they have to be a master of many, many, many trades, it doesn't necessarily make them a master in firearms. To a Green Beret, a firearm is more like a tool, and they're not necessarily gun fans like I would be. For instance, I specialize in firearms. I read old Soviet manuals to learn everything about their guns. I've read every fucking report released by the military on just about every kind of gun there is that a civilian can get their hands on. I try to know as much about as many guns as possible. That's not necessarily what he did. We have two different sets of experience, so I'm not trying to actually this guy, and I'm not trying to discredit his experience in the military. I'm just trying to add my experience for a more educational time, for more educational viewing for the viewer. I hope that makes sense. I'm not trying to be stupid military guys. I'm just trying to help educate people. Now, for this other guy, the ship captain, same deal. It sounds like he was dealing with hostiles in this underwater building project. So I don't deny that he probably has a lot of experience with a very small selection of firearms. And he worked with Special Forces guys who make it a point of business to be very good with firearms. He might be an excellent shot, and he might know a lot about the M4. But that doesn't necessarily make him an expert in all things firearm. I'm not saying I am an expert, by the way. I'm just saying I have a specialized source of knowledge. Take everything I say with a grain of salt, obviously. But also, it's worth saying that I am under the impression that I have a deeper wealth of knowledge on the subject than these two. And I don't think they're necessarily the gun experts that they are passing themselves off as.
Today we're going to be looking at Insurgency Sandstorm. Now, Cameron and I in the Experts React arena have already kind of looked at this from a tactical point of view, but today we're going to get real granular. We're going to go down and dirty with all the weapons and all the attachments and things like that used in the game.
Yeah, I heard this game is really realistic, so I'm looking forward to this. It should be fun to really get into it and see what it's like.
Colt M4A1 14.5 inch with EOTech XPS Plus G33 combo, flashlight, TD stubby, foregrip, and Magpul Stanag magazines. That all sounds like stuff that I worked with, actually, especially the EOTech.
Yeah, couldn't buy that in the civilian world.
Yeah, right. Not in California.
No, definitely not here.
every single one of those parts he mentioned is available in the civilian world, and most of them were designed for the civilian world, except for the EOTech. It is available in the civilian world, but I believe it was actually designed for military purposes first and was available to civilians second. That doesn't matter. The comment about California is correct. Most of those attachments make your AR-15 an assault weapon, but it is all available in the civilian world. Do not be mistaken. You can buy holographic sights. You can buy a vertical foregrip. You can buy magnification. Everything. Don't worry.
What's that on the side? Is that?
I think that's got to be like an elevation and windage, right? Because there's no optics in it.
Yeah. Well, it was what we shot with. Oh, he flips it up. It's a mag. It's a magnification.
Yeah, that's so cool.
That's nothing I ever worked with. You never had any of the side ones where you could kind of change the magnification.
No, that's great. Especially with the little range like that.
That's one thing where I think these experts show their age. The magnifier is a pretty recent addition to AR-15 kit, but ever since it came out, it's been pretty prevalent, and most people who keep up with AR-15 advancements know about it. To give you the basic rundown, a holographic sight or a red dot sight is a little glass prism, and inside that prism is projected a little red dot or a little red reticle that is designed to make acquiring sights easier than trying to line up two pieces of metal. It's supposed to be quicker, easier, and more accurate to the range you zero it. The idea behind the magnification is so that you can get a better look at whatever you're aiming at. It literally is a magnification glass that amplifies the zoom of the sight. Just the sight by itself, I believe, has a 1.25 times zoom, so it's 0.25 times bigger when you're looking through the sight, which is not much at all. You can buy magnification for between 2 times, so it's twice as big, or 12.5 times, and just about anywhere in between. So it's 12.5 times big. That's when you're starting to see pores on a guy's face, you know what I'm saying? Again, it's a pretty recent development, so it's one of the things that clued me in that these gun experts have not kept up with modern advancements, and why I felt the need to make this video informing anyone who may be watching about the modern advancements.
HK 416 14.5-inch barrel showcase. The customization.
Nice. Heckler & Koch makes great weapons.
This is still an M4, right? Just different customizations with HK? Is that what we're talking about? What? No, it's not an M4 anymore.
It's not, no, because I think it's shooting a 308, right?
Another time where I think these experts show their age is talking about the H&K 416. Now, for those of you who aren't in the loop, the H&K 416 is Heckler & Koch's attempt to replicate the AR-15 in a way that they think they would do it, and then try to sell it to military specialists across the planet. So the primary difference between an M4A1 or any other AR-15 model firearm and an H&K 416 is one is direct impingement and the other is short stroke gas piston. These are the basic operating systems of the firearm. To give you the shortest possible rundown, direct impingement means that after the bullet leaves the barrel, gas is piped up through a tube and back through the gun to slap into the bolt of the gun, which then goes back and, you know, does all the cycling and operations of the firearm. The bolt is the heart of the firearm. With direct impingement, you just have a couple of tubes that pipe gas directly to the bolt to get it moving again for the next round to be loaded in. With short stroke gas piston, it's a little different. Instead of the gas going directly to the bolt, instead it goes into a little cup attached to a piston, which then punches the face of the bolt. Well, what's the real difference? With direct impingement, the gas is piped straight into the bolt, which is a good thing because it's a very reliable system. Eugene Stoner was very smart to do it that way, except that powder is not 100% efficient in burning. Not all of it burns up when you shoot the gun. So you're going to have speckles of unburnt powder mixed in with the other gases of the firearm. And that means that when you pipe gases into the main chamber of the gun, into the receiver and the lower receiver and the chamber, when you pipe the gas back there, it's going to start leaving deposits of unburnt powder as you cycle more and more rounds. These deposits can create friction on the parts and gum them up. It jams up the gun eventually. Direct impingement's very reliable, but it's also really dirty. So you have to clean it pretty often, or it'll begin to jam. And when I say pretty often, I mean like after every mission or after every range day. I'm not saying, fucking spray carbon breaker between rounds. I'm just saying that it requires a little more maintenance than some guns. With short stroke gas piston, what's going on is the piston absorbs all the gas, and therefore all of the unburnt carbon and powder and that sort of thing. So it just stays in the cup of the piston, which you still have to clean, but it's a very, very small part compared to the entire receiver of your gun. So it's a cleaner running system. Well, why isn't every gun short stroke gas piston? Because that also means that you have extra mass, the piston, slamming backwards with everything else. Increases recoil. Recoil can decrease accuracy and make shooting the gun less comfortable. And when your life depends on it, you better make it comfortable. So it's a give and take. You have to clean less often, but more recoil. A lot of militaries across the world accepted the 416 as a Spec Ops gun. A lot of American Spec Ops like it, but it's probably not going to be adopted by the U.S. military as a whole anytime soon. Also, it's not 308, it's 5.56. Just like the M4, or M16, or AR-15, or whatever you want to call it.
That looks like a wider magazine. Like it almost like funnels up.
Stacked.
Yeah, it like bottlenecks up. Yeah, like maybe like a 40 round or something like that.
It totally could be a 40 round. It looks just longer than a regular 30, huh?
Right.
Quad stack.
Ah.
Look at that.
60 round quad stack. Okay, there we go.
Once again, kind of showing the shallowness of their experience. They haven't really experienced market parts for the AR platform. The 60-round Tombstone mag has been a staple for the tactical commander guy who has never been in the field and probably hasn't shot their rifle seriously in any degree forever. It's a 60-round mag that doesn't feed because it's quad stack. Normally, a magazine is double stack, where there's 2 stacks of bullets that are slightly interlaced. That one has 4 stacks coming out of one little hole. You can see where there can begin to be problems. Exponentially increased weight. Not that much round count advantage, because it's just the size of 2 magazines. It would probably be quicker to just switch to magazine than to deal with all the jams you're going to get from that thing. But some people like it, and some people think it's fun, and some people think it's impractical and stupid. I happen to be one of those people. You do you, but they're generally not considered to be a practical implement. So if you're going to run one knowing that. Own it. And once again, these guys just seem to not understand what the civilian market of firearms is like. And they have no right to. They are military guys who had all their gear issued to them or worked closely with military guys. When it comes to, what a gun expert is, right? You could get one person who knows the entire history and development of the Colt Peacemaker, and you can get a guy who can shoot a 1-inch group at 1,000 yards, and they'd have vastly different realms of experience, but you'd call them both gun experts. I would say that these guys are definitely experts with the firearms they worked with. They seem to understand those really, really well, but not much else.
HK 416, 14.5 with Giselle handguard and charging handle.
Again, another civilian market thing that a pair of military guys have no real reason to understand. It's not pronounced Giselle, it's Geisley. They are an ultra high-end, ultra luxury expensive gun brand. They make incredibly high-end gear, the best AR triggers in the market, some of the best handguns in the market, and charging handles, all of which are on the gun that is being demonstrated in the game. The whole thing packed together, just the trigger of the gun the handguard that you hold the gun by in the front, and the charging handle that you pull on when you're loading the firearm initially, all those put together probably cost around $1,000. Because Geisley is like the Louis Vuitton of guns. If you have it, you flex it. If you don't, you pretend you do.
Right. I mean, that's what I've always heard. The difference between the AK and like something like, and the M4. M4 is very precision, more precise, but also finer instrument. You got to take a little bit better care of it.
That's right. AK much tighter tolerance.
Exactly.
That AK, you could put the AK in mud and fire it.
Yeah.
So once again, we see a really old trope, and this kind of, to me, dates their experience a lot, where we hear the trope of AKs are inaccurate, AR-15s are delicate. No. We've seen folks like InRange TV demonstrate that when an AK gets loaded up with enough mud, they fail too. And we've seen people like Brandon Herrera demonstrate that when an AK is properly treated, it can give you high amounts of precision in your shooting. And we see when an AR-15 gets thrown in the mud, it stands up plenty fine. The reason this myth comes about is soldiers were fighting insurgents with 40, 50, 60-year-old AKs that have never been cleaned and were left over from when previous military groups either gave them AKs or left the AKs there after an invasion. These are ancient, poorly treated AKs. Of course they're going to perform poorly in the precision department. If we left an AR out for that long, it would perform just as poorly too. However, it does not mean that it is inherently rugged because it can still function. There are still people taking a rudimentary amount of care of it. They just, don't have access to carbon breaker or cleaning oil or replacement parts to a significant degree.
That foregrip, see, I love that angled foregrip what we were talking about. I've never used anything like that before.
The angle foregrip is another one of those things where it's a recent enough development that it's kind of out of their wheelhouse. However, they're not special or unique in any way. I have one on my AR. I picked it up for $9 at Academy, and I think you can pick them up for $11 at Dick's Sporting Goods. And it's made by the same manufacturer. It's completely identical to the one in the game. It's not specially unique in any way. It's just relatively recent. It's way more ergonomic than those old-fashioned, completely vertical grips, because this actually conforms more to the shape of a human being's hand, as opposed to just a cylinder sticking straight out of the gun. This is really comfortable and really lets me get a good grip on the firearm. It's a really handy little attachment. Also, if I had this on an AR pistol, I'd become a felon.
AK-12 showcase. Well, AK-47 is like, that's the one, but AK is obviously the designation.
Yeah, that's that guy.
Kalashnikov,
yeah.
Kalashnikov.
Is this a 12 gauge version of this? I'm not sure.
You get like half the accuracy with these AKs, but maybe higher reliability than the ARs or the
think so too,
M4s.
Once again, this is information about the AK coming from people who didn't make the AK, didn't use the AK, and have only fought against people who use really, really old, rusty, poorly treated versions of the AK. The AK-12 is the Kalashnikov group's most recent AK renovation. It's the same basic gun. It's a long-stroke gas piston system. So if you'll remember back to what we said earlier in the video, when I talked about a short-stroke gas piston system, where it's a piston, it absorbs the gas, and it punches the bolt face and sends the bolt back. Long-stroke gas piston system means instead of punching the bolt, it's actually attached to the bolt, which kind of worsens the recoil effect because now you have all this extra mass attached to your bolt and it's all coming right back at your shoulder when it recoils. It can be really rough, and that's why the AK is known for a really, really stiff recoil. It has a big, heavy bullet, and it has a big, heavy bolt, and all of it's coming back at you during the recoil. It can be pretty unpleasant to shoot if you're not used to it. The AK-12 is a modernization of the AK. It adds Picatinny rail onto the dust cover so that you can get red dot sights in a more conventional AR-15 style place. It replaces the old-fashioned AK setup stock for a new buffer tube thing ripped straight off of the AR. That way they can use AR-15 platform stocks. So that way they have a larger pool of companies that they can buy accessories for their high-tier Spec Ops guys. It's fine. It's a really, really good gun. It is not 12 gauge.
Any thoughts on the grip? We either supported from underneath or we had a foregrip that we would hold on to. But now I see there's almost kind of a straight arm kind of grip out there, gripping it by the side of the barrel.
Like, obviously you want to pull it in as tight as you can.
Right.
Like, you don't want any gap in between your shoulder, and you want it just to be as stable as you can as you go through. So I kind of like this new grip with the 45 because it's giving you that to push against. Kind of like the handle, but not maybe as much of like a snag hazard as a 90-degree handle to the barrel.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that grip that they're talking about is called C-clamp. It started in the civilian world in competition shooting, and, you know, as civilian world shooting got popular, it kind of spread and slowly integrated into higher level, high-speed operator type guys, and then it kind of drizzled down from there to more traditional shooters, and now it's pretty much the traditional shooting style. He was right where in his time of enlistment, 2008, Iraq, you would not see anyone doing this, but nowadays the modern idea is you should be able to pull the stock against your shoulder with just one hand. And it should be your, try and get it in the camera frame, your forward hand here. When it comes to your, in the system it's called your operating hand, but when it comes to the hand pulling the trigger, you should not be making any tension with this whatsoever, which was a big problem of the older shooting styles where you had it by a vertical grip here, or you were holding it by the mag well, or you were holding it here. It required a bit of involvement from the shooting hand. The problem is that can dramatically decrease your precision. Just holding this straight back with the C-clamp, where the my thumb is over the barrel and my four fingers are wrapped around this nice angled foregrip, it creates a really stable platform. So I only need one finger, and because of this, you see guys now adopting a grip where instead of, you know, having a hammer grip around the grip, they put this thumb over here, and it's just generally better ergonomics because that means you don't have horizontal wiggle coming from your right hand while you're trying to precisely finesse the trigger. It's a very modern shooting style, so of course these guys don't know about it, but it's highly recommended, and it works on just about everything. It works on AKs, it works on FALs, it works on G3s if you're a man. It's a very modern, very interesting, very effective grip, C-clamp. There's a million different buff guys with tattoos and beards who can teach you all about it on the internet. Don't you worry.
Not familiar.
No, I have not used this one. Sorry. It looks like a version of the Uzi, but MP you'd think would be another Heckler & Koch product, but it doesn't look anything like an MP5 or 10. Huh?
Looks slick, yeah, very, something like the SAS would use or something like that.
Yeah, more like a like Israeli arms like version
Oh,
of the Uzi
there you
or
go,
something,
yeah.
Mac 10 or something.
Those Israelis.
Oh, the MP7. You are a cruel mistress. For those of you who don't know, the MP7 is a hyper popular PDW. Let me explain. In the 70s, this thing called Kevlar was invented. And also in the 70s, people figure out, hey, if you make a vest out of this with multiple layers, it can stop bullets. Rifle bullets. Pistol bullets. And then a lot of people got scared at once. NATO got really afraid that suddenly all of their enemies would be using Kevlar armor, which was not really a concern before. So now they had to come up with a way to fight Kevlar armor. Now, of course, you get up to a high enough rifle caliber, it doesn't matter, unless they're wearing like holy shit amounts of Kevlar. But when it came to their pistols and submachine guns, which the majority of rear echelon infantry were equipped with, it became a real problem. If the front lines, the guys with the rifles and everything got overrun, well, the rear echelon would have to fight. And rear echelon is like bureaucrats, cooks, truck drivers, guys who can't be expected to run around with a rifle and 20 mags and a full kit. They need significantly less equipment. So how are they going to be able to effectively fight when their enemy is equipped with Kevlar? And they came up with the idea of the PDW, the personal defense weapon. The basic idea of it is a small pistol caliber submachine gun type thing capable of defeating body armor. Two really big guns came out of the NATO organization looking for a PDW. The P90, which is cool in its own respect, which was patented in 1990, hence the name, and H&K's MP7. They got it right. It is an H&K gun. It was designed to fire their own proprietary cartridge, which I forget the designation of. I'll put it right here. That cartridge was designed to defeat Kevlar body armor. It's really cool. It's really slick. It's from the 90s, though, but the reason why they probably don't know about it is NATO never adopted it. The P90 won the trials, but then a bunch of people got paid off to say no, they didn't, and then shenanigans started happening, and then no PDW was adopted by NATO. So now just a bunch of different countries have adopted different things. So some countries have adopted the Belgian FNP90, some countries have adopted the German H&K MP7. It's kind of a matter of politics, international politics at that, so it's kind of a fucking pain. But it's also a really cool gun, and H&K, please import one to America. Come on, man, what did I do to you?
6 Sauer P320 showcase. I never owned a 6 Sauer.
So we had the 226s with us when we were in the Philippines with SEAL Team 5.
All right.
That was the thing that everyone was using.
Oh, cool.
I'll tell you what was amazing about those, like, they'd swim with them fully loaded in the water, and they'd get out and they'd still work. We'd come back to the ship. They just throw them in a 50 cal ammo box that like the whole platoons, and then next morning you open up, there's actual rust crystals growing on it. But they had some magic juice that the weapons op guy would just spray it down, let it sit overnight, and it looked like brand new the next day. It's like, how does this happen?
This is a miracle technology.
Yeah, he's right. They worked with the P226 probably in the 90s when he served. It was the SEAL team sidearm of choice. It's a really cool, slick gun. That magic juice he sprayed it down was probably a carbon breaker to destroy the rust, and it just polishes right off because it was just surface rust. Really cool, really rugged gun. Awesome. The gun they're looking at is not that gun. It's the P320. Which in 2017 replaced the Beretta M9 for the official sidearm of the U.S. military. The reason why neither of them are familiar with it is because it was patented in 2015. What makes the gun really cool is, on most guns, the lower, the handle, the receiver, is what carries the serial number and is what is legally the gun. That is not the case on the P320. On the P320, the trigger pack is legally what is the gun. So you can just take out the trigger pack and swap it for a longer grip, a shorter grip, a smaller grip overall, whatever suits your needs. And it creates a lot of modularity for the military because that means you can have, an officer with smaller hands have a grip more accustomed to his size, an officer with larger hands have a grip more accustomed to his size, whatever. It makes it just more comfortable and more usable by more soldiers. Which is better than having just one gun everyone has to fucking get used to. It's really interesting.
Loadout Scar L with various attachments. They were just getting into the Scar as I was out processing in late 2009.
Okay,
just starting to train with
after
them.
me, so I haven't seen this one.
It almost looks like a bullpup stock, but it's not, right?
Right, yeah. Very bulky looking folding stock right
I know,
there.
it's crazy. Like when that folds in, it's almost like it's gonna cover up everything.
Right.
It looks like it'll be completely over the safety and
Selector switch, and the mag release. I wonder how that works.
So the Scar, There's a whole acronym. I'm not going to say it. I'm going to put it up on screen because I'm lazy. It is a really modular 308 rifle designed for long distance work, but it's not a sniper rifle. It likes to teeter on the edge between a military assault rifle and a military sniper rifle. And it likes to sit in a category we call the designated marksman's rifle, or sometimes the battle rifle. Because it kind of teeters between the mid-size caliber, high capacity magazine assault rifle, full auto, and the bolt action ultra long distance sniper rifle. It sits comfortably between those two. What makes it unique is that it uses a short stroke gas piston system, like we discussed earlier with the H&K 416, and the way it has everything set up, the stock is not vital to the operation of the gun, unlike on the AR-15 platform. So you can just fold it in, and it means that the gun can be a lot more compact during carrying, especially long distances. It doesn't take up as much room. It's super handy. Plus, if you have to do indoor work with a SCAR, there's probably somebody who's done it. It's not me. Indoor work with a SCAR. Jesus Christ, I don't want to picture that. The reason why the stock can fold over all those controls is you're not expected to use them while it's folded. And the charging handle is mounted off to the side, to the left side, so you can still charge it. There's enough gap between the folded stock and the side of the gun that you can stick your thumb in there and actuate the safety. So it doesn't actually impinge your using of it. It makes it a little inconvenient, but for the convenience you gain in long distance carrying, in just saving space, it's well worth it, in my opinion. Super, super cool gun.
I'm so glad that I got to do the majority of my weapons appreciation in the military when I was being paid to do this, because firearms, it seems like an expensive hobby, man. There's all these
ammo. Like, if you want to be good,
oh my gosh.
I mean, holy God.
Thousands of rounds and thousands of dollars. Wow, 40 round mag.
Like, I read SEAL Team 6, those guys are shooting like 100 rounds a day, every day, just to get started.
100,000 rounds, yeah. Oh my gosh.
Ammo's expensive.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
Glock 17 P80 in loadout / weaponsmith. Glock 17, is that the standard law enforcement?
Yeah, I've got one, 9mm 17 round mag.
All right.
It's fairly indestructible.
I read it cost Glock $50 to make that, and they sell them like the base price is $550, and you're lucky if you can get one new for $550.
Oh my goodness.
It's a good return, I guess. Austrian. Of course, made in the U.S. now, but it's an Austrian design.
Yeah, that is a Glock 17. That is the standard duty model for, most law enforcements in the United States, in Austria, and in some parts of Germany. They'll never tell you that. It is a ultra-reliable, ultra-quality handgun. So much so, I have one right here. This is my Glock. This is a Glock 19. Now what that means is an inch has been shaved off the barrel, and an inch has been shaved off the grip in order to make it overall shorter for concealed carry. This isn't really the best model of Glock for concealed carry anymore, but it definitely was at the time. So he mentioned it takes $50 to make a Glock. That's true. And then they need to be imported from Austria. And then the person retailing it needs to make a profit. Importation costs are really, really, really stiff. And retail can be retail. If you go wholesale, there are a few websites and a few places that let you go wholesale on Glocks. That's very, very, very rare, usually like a limited time thing. And you see them around $250. So Glock's making about $200 profit per pistol. That's pretty good. Now, again, ultra reliable, indestructible basically, like he said. The lower is made almost entirely of polymer. The slide is good old, steel. It's the 17 that they have has a 17 round mag. No, that's not why it's called that. This one has a 15 round mag because it's just ever so slightly shorter. Not enough room for those extra 2 rounds. That's the trade-off. Now, he mentioned that they're currently being made in the United States. this has been a rumor for a long time, and it keeps getting rumored over and over and over again. It's something a lot of people talk about wanting to happen, but nobody's really made any movement on it. Glocks have always been and probably will always be stamped with a proof mark right here on the slide up by the site that says Austria. And until they stop being made in Austria, it's going to continue to be marked like that. You can see that even on the newest Glock handguns. A lot of people like to call Glock America's handgun, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's made in America. Like all the best things in the United States, it's from somewhere else. So it appears that's all that I felt the need to address in this latest video. There were some other things that they mentioned that I don't necessarily know about. They said some stuff about camo patterns in that video. I don't know anything about camo patterns. That's just not my field of expertise. So I addressed just about everything I'm comfortable addressing in a video like this. If you like the video, please let me know in the comment section below. And please, I'm struggling to find any kind of content that I might be able to respond to. Apparently when you type firearm misinformation into Google, you get a lot of political stuff, and that's not necessarily what I want to talk about. So thank you for watching to the end. Have a good day.